Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2. We're going to jump in right where we left off last time, and we'll be entering the contracts building and checking out what we can do for this episode. So let's get to it. Alright, so we have no active contracts in. We completed 2 in that last one. Good job, us. Before we do that, let's go ahead and look at the R&D facility. Alright, so stability, we could get this. This will give us our radial decouplers. These are kind of nice. They allow you to build your rockets sideways instead of just straight up and down. General rocketry gets us a little bit bigger fuel tank, a bigger solid rocket booster, and the Reliant, a different liquid-fueled engine that's lighter and more powerful, but doesn't gimbal, which means the engine won't help us steer at all. But we definitely want to get that nonetheless, and we want to get stability as well. So now we get 40. Let's see, these all take 45. So that's all we're getting right now. Well, that's all she wrote. On this next one, we should be able to go to orbit. No problem. So I'm going to grab orbit Kerbal. And let's see if there's any other contracts we want to do. We are not going to get ourselves on a Kerbal escape trajectory. That would be a bad idea right now. See, I don't want to do any of these guys. So we'll cancel some of these since I turned off the decline penalty and just see if anything else pops up that looks interesting. We're not going to test the engine, the jet engine right now. Although we could do this for a couple $1,000. We could do that pretty easily. If we wanted to, but we're not going to. Alright, so let's... I'm not going to ferry tourists around yet. We're not at that level. Still not going to ferry tourists. Okay. Oh, it just keeps increasing the number of tourists. It's not actually giving us a new contract. Alright, well, doesn't look like we're going to quickly get any better contracts there, so we'll just get to orbit. Let's hop back into here. We're going to keep mostly the same design. Ditch that guy. The stack separator. Move you over. Save some money by using these bigger, slightly bigger fuel tanks. That might be too many of them for this engine. No, 1.8. Not bad. And since we got radial decouplers, we might as well have some fun with it. Even though this guy could probably get to orbit on its own, we're going to go ahead and throw some of these medium-sized solid rocket boosters on it. Just to really spice things up. Alright, that'll decouple that. We can get to the stuff. That looks fine. That all looks fine. We're not going to worry about transmitting. We've got our heat shield already. I would worry about putting some aerodynamic nose cones on these solid rocket boosters, but I think we're going to ditch them fast enough that it shouldn't be a big deal. What's this? We splashed down in the ocean. That we did. Alright, this will be the Kerbal 1.1. And let's see, about 4 kilometers per second. Oh, that's too heavy for our launch pad. Well, in that case, it might be time to upgrade the launch pad. Mightn't it? See, for 50,000 bucks? Yeah, because we got quite a bit. And that will make it so that we don't have to worry about this. Oh, it's 1_1. Guess you can't do a point. And let's get Valentina. Let's let her have a chance at flying, since she's our other pilot. And it's always good to have several experienced pilots. Alright, so let's SAS on, throttle up. We already fixed our staging in the VAB, so let's light this candle. And we'll immediately throttle that liquid fueled engine down. So we've got a ton more thrust than we need. Start leaning over a little bit. So you always want to lean over if you're ditching stages. You don't want to drop them right on the launch pad. So after maybe version 1.0 or so, they actually enabled damage to the launch pad is possible. So those things will stage and then throttle back up to get our speed back up. And now we've got pretty good control over our rocket too, because we're using this gimbaling rocket. rocket. Going reasonably fast. Not super high yet. So I'm going to be my most efficient launch, I don't think. We're leaning over quite enough. We had a lot of thrust with those solid rocket boosters. But you got to be a little careful getting too far from this prograde marker while you're in the atmosphere, or your ship will start tumbling over itself. And that's not fun for me. Going here. And our Apoweps is already up to the 50 kilometer sun range. We need to really start leaning over. So this one didn't have, you know, a wild amount of delta V, so it's actually distinctly possible that we won't be able to get to orbit on this particular launch, since I did such an inefficient orbital insertion here. So we'll lean over to try to help ourselves out as much as we can. We'll see. And I'm going to stop at around 78 kilometers or so. We'll stop burning when we have 1,400 meters per second left. We may make it. We may. Alright, and that's as much as we want. And so you can use X to kill the throttle there. We'll just keep coasting up. Let's see, I think we already did. We didn't do a temperature from here, because we did it in space last time, I think. So we'll grab those two right now. I don't know why I even brought this guy. He's not going to be useful. So we already did all these goo experiments. Guess we'll get another 2 science from that one. Yeah, we're at 67 kilometers. Let's engage some physics warp to get us up to 70. Then we can engage our proper time warp. But I'm not going to want to go too terribly high before I start burning again, because we've got quite a bit of circularization to do. So, let's see, we're pretty, and you can hit the Z key, or Z as they like to say on the other side of the pond, and that'll engage your full throttle, the opposite of the X one, which will kill your throttle. So we'll keep an eye on this Apoweps, make sure it doesn't get too terribly far out in front of us, and since it is, we're going to cut our throttle a little bit. We also want to make sure we still have fuel. It's very unfortunate if you send your first guy out to orbit and they get stuck there. Very unfortunate indeed. And we've got a pretty good amount of fuel. Apoweps is actually still getting away from us even at this low throttle. I'm just going to kill it for a second, let us get a little closer. It's always the most efficient to do it right at the Apoweps, but you know, since you don't have an infinite amount of thrust, you can't always do that. Alright, there, we're in orbit. 80, 77. As long as they're both over 70, you're in a stable orbit. So there we go. We got some stuff here. Orbit Kerbal. We got a bunch of money, some science for that. Nice work. We got our goal. Set a new land distance record, and we've entered orbit. Alright, well, we'll now set a serious land distance record, because we can pretty much just sit up here as long as we want at this point. The beauty of orbit. Let's see, we'll grab the one that I didn't grab yet. Observe it again in space, even though we already got it in low space. Probably could have just ditched both of those and not even brought them along. Did we already get a crew report from here? We did, and we can't EVA her yet. It might be our next upgrade. We might upgrade the thing that lets us EVA, which I think is the astronaut complex. So it's getting pretty dark here because we're on the dark side of the planet. Coming around, and we should be around the back now. So we're going to set ourselves up in a little bit to start re-entering. Actually, we might want to start doing that now. Set ourselves up to start re-entering. We'll bring our PE down, and we want it to kind of fly over into the... Well, we'd prefer not to re-enter into the mountains, but it'll be alright. We got a ton of parachutes on this sucker, so I'm not worried about it. Just engage it a little bit, and we'll bring that periops down to 23. That should be fine. That might even let us skip a little further. We'll see. We'll see. Now we'll fly a little bit more, just hitting the comma and period keys to kind of up and down our time warp. So we've stopped time warping here because we entered the atmosphere. This is going to be a long descent through the atmosphere. It takes a long time to get through this whole thing, especially when you enter it as shallow as we just did here. Here we're wobbling a little as I try to center us on this retrograde marker. We're still, I mean, we're in the atmosphere technically, but it's so light that it's, might as well not worry about it yet. So we'll engage some physics warp that makes our controls real jittery, so we need to be a little careful with it. But at 65 kilometers, I'm not worried at all. We're still picking up speed, so the atmosphere is not really hurting us very much. The reason we're picking up speed is because we're losing altitude. Eventually we'll start losing speed again because the atmosphere will be pushing back against us and we'll be losing more energy than we're gaining for losing our altitude, if that makes sense. So we'll see. See how that works out. Need some more time warp because I'm kind of impatient. Now you could do this entire game never using the physics time warp. Well, I mean, you could use it never using any time warp, but that would take forever. Without the physics time warp, it wouldn't take terribly long, but I don't know, I'm really impatient. So, all right. So once we start getting these heating effects, we'll be a little safe here and not do that. All right. And I'm just going to go ahead and burn the rest of our fuel up. Slow us down a little bit. We'll turn just a smidgen, ditch that. That way we don't ditch it right on top of us. Still distinctly possible that it'll decide to flutter right back up into us, which would be unfortunate. But, there. The way it wobbled there, it kind of bit into the atmosphere. I should have kicked it down a little bit. It's also got a very different mass distribution than we do, a very different density, so it looks like it's more dense than us, so it's not slowing down as much. We're at 40 kilometers now. What's our re-entry look like? Oh yeah, we're landing in the water. That's what I'm talking about. That extra burn there at the end kind of ensured that we're going to land in the water rather than landing on land, which can be a little dangerous in the mountains because they stick up decent distances and they've got pretty good slopes to them. So if you try to land on one and your ship can't hold itself up and you roll down the mountain, it's distinctly possible things will blow up. Although that seems to be the theme of Kerbal Space Program, the things blowing up, it's not what you want to happen to your ship. It's funny to watch it happen to other people's ships on YouTube, but it's not funny when it happens to yours. Right. We're at 31 kilometers altitude, moving at 1600 meters per second. I think we're going to be alright, guys. Here's our ablator up here on the top. See, it's not burning up too fast. For a re-entry like this from Kerbal orbit, we probably could have taken half the ablator off of that and saved ourselves a little bit of fuel. But it worked out in the end, so who cares? Who cares? Alrighty, 21 kilometers. We're going to be able to deploy our drogue chutes before too long. And there. I forget what the exact engagement speed is for them, but not terrible. Not terrible at all. There, yeah, we can already engage them at 7 meters per second. So kick those suckers out. Really start slowing down here. We'll disengage our stability control since we're now pretty stable with the parachutes. We were probably stable before with that heat shield on the back and everything, but better safe than sorry. I don't think we ever got a low atmosphere one. You're the space near Kerbal, you must be high atmosphere then, so let's reset you and observe you in low atmosphere. So, we did get a low atmosphere. Yeah, that was like a waste of one science there. I think it was slightly more valuable to get the one high atmosphere. We'll engage our main chute and let ourselves kind of flutter down to the surface. What's the full deployment altitude on this? 2,500 meters, so we got a little while. We'll go ahead and time warp because I'm impatient still. We'll slow it down for these parachutes to open. Alright, seems to be stable about there. We'll engage it again until the other parachute's going to open at 1 kilometer. speed. Now we're going super slow. We'll re-engage it until we hit the water. And we'll get our report from this one. We should get a little bit of science from it. Not a terrible amount. I mean, we did orbit, but we didn't send up any new experiments or anything wild like that. But it's still going to be good for us. We got some money from those contracts to orbit. So our next area that we can collect science from is going to be high Kerbal orbit. Which I don't remember the exact altitude that you have to get to. It's maybe 300 kilometers or something altitude. And then you're in space high over Kerbal. That'll be our next one, and then we'll probably in that same mission maybe do a moon flyby or something along those lines. And that'll be nice for us. Alright, 31 science. That's actually a lot more than I would have thought. So let's see, mystery goo we got again, temperature scan. Oh yeah, because we got these temperature scans that we hadn't got before. Excuse me, so that was nice. And the recovery of the vessel from orbit. I hadn't got that before. This time we were rather far from the KSC, so we didn't get a huge percentage of our funds back. But I think that's going to be alright. Alright, and she got 2 experience because she orbited, so that gets her to level 1. So at level 1, she can now not only do the stability assist, which is what we've been using pilots for so far, but she can also do a prograde, retrograde hold, and of course full vehicle control without a comnet access is kind of the deal with the pilots. That's why you bring them along. So we've got 89, we're 1 science short of getting some of those. So I think we're going to, well, not vehicle assembly building, meant to go to the contract area. I think we're going to go pick up like one of these really easy contracts, and we're definitely going to pick this up. Explore the moon, fly by, and return to current. Oh yeah, we're going to do that. Where was one of those ones? At the launch pad, the launch site. Flee, solid rocket booster, and that'll get us 1 science. So here's a little trick with these testing things at the launch pad. We will new ship, do that, do a flee. It doesn't actually say that the flee has to do anything. It just says that you have to send it and then engage it. So we're going to do that. It has no fuel in it, but we're going to engage it anyways. And we'll go ahead and grab these 2 guys, because I don't think we have either of those sciences from the launch pad yet. We'll launch this little ship. It's got a solid rocket engine and no fuel in it, but once we engage it, that will count for our test. So we'll log our temperatures there. That'll get us a couple of science. That's already got us everything we need, but there, we engaged it and tested it at the launch pad. There we go. And yeah, we'd already done that one. So we'll recover that. We'll get 100% of our value back from that ship because it didn't do anything. 100% recovered at launch pad. We didn't burn any fuel or anything like that. But now we're up to 96 science, so we're good to go. So let's see what we want to get. A larger fuel tank and the Terrier engine. That's a really good deep space engine. I mean, once you unlock this segment here, you can probably visit half the solar system if you really were good at it. General construction will give us a crew cabin. That's not too interesting for us yet. A big decoupler, a brand adapter. Not too interesting until we unlock those parts up here. This stability enhancer is very nice. Aviation, I am absolutely terrible at airplanes, so I'm not going to be prioritizing that. Flight control, we don't really need that yet. Basic science is going to be nice, so we get another science experiment. Get some antennas and the probodobodyne. And a little battery. So we will pick up that guy. And then I think we'll pick up advanced rocketry as well. That'll be quite nice. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. Thank you for joining me, and have a good one, everybody.